Hello everyone, so welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Chia and this is on investment planning, okay? Or otherwise, in my topic here, I would refer to it as business planning. Okay, why this topic? Well, I think it's important to students taking financial management, especially those doing the ACC and the CAT, right? So it's a relevant topic. And right, okay, welcome and thank you for watching. So you're watching this on my YouTube channel. Let's begin. Right, so what are we going to cover today? Some very interesting things. Right. So firstly, we're going to look at what actually is business planning or investment planning, and the key steps to capital investment planning and control. Right. So the focus in this video is not so much about general business plans, but investment planning. Right. Investment planning is very essential in various entities. Okay, why? Why is it so essential? Because investments in new equipment, new assets and outlets involves big sums of money, right? And proper planning and control do make a difference between success and failure in an investment project. So let's have a look at what are the steps that that are required in investment planning. So in investment planning, it is very important to conduct the first initial investigation. The initial investigation will cover the feasibility of the proposed project. So if let's say if it's a proposed project to start a new outlet, then the question is that would it be workable? Can it work? And the next question is the commercial viability. Commercial viability as in, well, can you actually make money out of starting that project? Take for instance, you could have a very simple business of like having a franchise, right? The franchise is interesting because you're using an established brand. The question is that can it be commercially viable, especially when you bring over a franchise from overseas? Would it be commercially viable when you bring it to your own country? So this investigation is quite thorough, and generally from the initial investigation, it should give planners some idea about whether the project would be workable. However, if the project doesn't seem even viable, then well, it stops there. Okay, no further work required. Okay, so let's say if it passes the initial investigation, then planners will need to go further and look into the detailed evaluation. Now, detailed evaluation is something that you can't afford to be any less detailed, right? Planners need to do proper cash flow projections. Now, cash flow projections may vary, it depends on the business requirements. But if you are doing the CAT or the ACCA, it's at least a 5-year forecast. Right? The 5-year forecast should give a good indication of whether the project would make sense. Okay? But making these projections also means that there are various assumptions to be made. Right? These may be big assumptions, but the assumptions are critical so that planners are able to put figures, quantify certain expectations, and then put that all into the cash flow and enable decision makers to understand whether the project would have any risk of failing or the likelihood of the project becoming a hit, for example. So that's where we use the various investment appraisal methods such as payback. Right, once you have the cash flow forecast, then it's possible to do payback calculations such as the accounting rate of return, which then planners, decision makers are able to justify if these meet the company's investment criteria. Right, especially for a business which with very tight cash flows, they may want to ensure that the project can at least meet the minimum payback. If not, well, then the project may not take place. The same for the accounting rate of return. The project may require a certain level of return. If not, it wouldn't pass the management, and and the project is cancelled. So NPV is also frequently used, as well as the internal rate of return. Right. So these variety of methods are used to help further assess and determine if the project fits the company's investment policies before the project will finally get an approval to proceed. So of course, if the detailed evaluation works out fine, then management needs to approve. Okay, apologies for the mistake. Approve the investment or the project. Okay, so the authorization part means that the management has to assess and look at the work conducted by earlier staff, right? Staff who has done their feasibility studies, and staff who has done the detailed evaluation. So management will refer to all this and assess and see if it makes sense. Of course, if management is agreeable and thinks that the project would fulfill the company's longer term strategy, management will rightly approve and agree with the project. So then the project should take place once management gives approval. And then when the approval is given, someone will need to take charge and implement the project. So usually at this point in time there will be someone placed in charge. He could be the project manager to implement, carry out the project, ensure the project takes place. So he's given the necessary resources to ensure the project would be completed. Right, from time to time there will be project monitoring just to observe the progress and see if the project is moving according to the plan. And once all that is done, at the end of the completion there is this post-completion audit. Now the post-completion audit basically is a time to review whatever mistakes and lessons learned. So the lessons learned would hopefully help to improve the new investment projects planning in future. So this is of great importance, right? And that's the key steps in investment planning. Okay. So in closure, the business planning can be a very simple exercise, right? It can be very simple. Unfortunately, in many cases, the common hurdles of business planning, investment planning, is that there is always the human factor. Like for example, some managers may agree, some may not agree with the project, some may deliberately, build up hurdles to make it difficult for the project to be executed. Then you have the other issues such as excessively optimistic forecasting, and that happens in many organizations, for purpose of pride, empire building. You find that the managers who have a vested interest in the project would tend to be very optimistic in their forecasting so that the project will go through, right? Which is unhealthy, because that would end up, resulting in the business embarking on potentially damaging projects, financially damaging projects, right? So that is on some information regarding investment planning, right? In fact, for any kind of business planning or investment planning on purchase of new assets or buildings, structures, whatever it is, the process is more or less the same. There has to be an initial investigation followed by detailed evaluation. The detailed evaluation must convince planners and decision makers that the project would eventually work, right? So this process here, the detailed evaluation, is very key, right? Because it would immediately flag out and raise to planners what are the consequences, what are the potential problems. So then eventually when decision makers make that call, they understand what are the implications and whether they are willing to accept the risk and proceed with the project. And the same will go even for new startups, right? The same process must be followed as closely as possible. And that's pretty much it. And I'm Brody Chia, and I hope that you have understood this concept of investment planning clearer, right, to a clearer extent. So thank you for watching. You have been watching this on my YouTube channel, right? Look forward to hearing your feedback, and I hope to upload more videos in the coming weeks to come. Have a good day.